All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Geek Garage podcast. I'm your host, David Dassaw, and joined with me, as per usual, is my sultry and sexy co-host, Ted White. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm hanging in there, man.
Yeah.
It's been a week.
Yeah, it has been a week. It certainly, yeah, it's one of those.
The weather, it's got me down.
Oh my God. It's
It's dark earlier. Maybe I'm depressed. I don't know.
yeah, someone should call the North
Yeah.
because their weather showed up at our doorstep drunk again.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to come get their weather.
Yeah, this week's climate has basically been like the X that is an X for a lot of good reasons, storming back into your life to try and kick your front door down and get the police called on you, even though you're trying to move on with your life, Stephanie.
Wow, that was oddly specific.
Yeah, that's not from personal experience, but moving right along.
Right, yeah, for sure. Yes, cold weather, nuts are up in the throat, and ladies, I don't know what it's like for you whenever it gets cold. I guess nipples poke out because that's what happens for us too.
Don't feel like
It-
that's a 1-to-1, but okay.
Yeah, it's either way, it's fucking cold, but we're gonna get through it. March, it's just around the corner, which again, holy shit, like how the hell did that happen? Like it was just March last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2020 it somehow felt like both 30 years and like 12 minutes long. I don't quite know how.
Yeah, like
It was a
time.
weird one.
Yeah, time is no longer what it once was. You
Yeah.
know,
This is the bad place.
right? The upside down, I guess, if you will, minus
yeah.
the Demogorgons and
So far, at
Demodogs.
least, we don't know.
Right? Yeah, they could make their appearance in
Yeah,
2021.
that's the summer 2021
Right? That's
season twist.
yeah, we got the M Night Shyamalama Ding Dong coming around the pike.
That's the mid-season hype moment right there.
Right, yeah, right before the break, kick our door in and be like, "Ha! We got everything on fire for you." Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today. The weather. What we are here to talk about today is movie hot takes. Everything that you are in the minority of, and this is the, I guess, quote unquote, love edition. We're gonna do, I guess, I don't know if hate would be the right word, but yeah, we have the flip side of this coming down the pike in a few weeks. But as of right now, as of this episode, we are just doing movies that we really enjoy or love, but find ourselves in the minority of. So yeah, I just explained to you what a hot take is.
Yeah. I think some of these are probably more like lukewarm takes, but you know.
Yeah. Ted, how you feeling about this episode? You got your list all lined up?
Yeah. So I'll be honest with you. This one was kind of difficult for me, not because, not because I don't like movies that a lot of other people don't. I mean, that's generally the exact opposite of what's true. I have I'm into weird shit. You know that.
Right.
But more so just because I've never really been overly concerned with how critically or commercially is not really the right word, but like how acclaimed a movie is. I've always just liked what I've liked and not really cared. So it was kind of difficult for me. I had to really go and be like, okay, what are the movies that I know I have watched that I know I like were not good to most other people? So I was like going through my Letterboxd and I was like, okay, anything under a 3, that's fair game. That's fair game. How does that only need a 2.5? Fuck all of you, you know?
Yeah, this one, I think I'm going to have a lot more picks to rifle off for our flip of this. Movies that I think are overhyped or loved too much that I'm not too high on. I don't know why. I mean, that, like, it doesn't make sense to me that it's like that, because I feel like I'm pretty lax when it comes to movies in general, and what it takes for a movie to, like, I don't know, get me going or make me like the movie. I guess
Right.
it just, I don't know, like, I'm a simple man, so it doesn't really take a whole lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm definitely gonna have a ton of movies on my on the reverse list we do, but that's another podcast another time.
all right, yeah. We figured it would probably be best to split them up. That way we can kind of give both sides its fair due, I guess.
Right. And also that gives us one less episode we have to plan in the future.
Precisely, my friend, precisely. But anyways, so before we get into the brass tacks of it all, if you have been listening to the podcast for a while, we appreciate your listenership. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome. We know that we've said this a few times the last couple episodes, but our download numbers inexplicably have been going up for
Hmm.
some reason.
And no one knows because the show's not getting better. So I don't.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning in to what is probably best known as the most lukewarm and mediocre show on your subscription podcast playlist. So congratulations on that. But we will do our best to make sure that you don't regret spending spending an hour listening to our BS. So yeah, there's that.
That's right. Although if you turn it off after the 10-minute mark, you're not going to get the full effect, so you might regret it.
Right. There's valuable information in here somewhere. The thing is, you don't know if it's in the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes. And the kicker is, we don't know if it's in the first 5 minutes or the last 5 minutes.
We also cannot guarantee there's valuable information in the podcast. That's mostly a sales pitch.
Yeah, it could all just be bullshit.
And in fact, probably is.
Right. But yeah, nevertheless, thank you to everyone that has tuned in and has chosen to pick our podcast to listen to. We very much appreciate it. So Ted, I think we are good to go if you are ready.
I was born ready.
You're goddamn right. Let's hit that little beeping sound that makes it sound like a tiny truck backing up. Boop. All right, so Ted, before we jump into our picks, we did earlier this week, because it's Saturday. I know this will be released on a Wednesday, but yeah, time is irrelevant, as we discussed.
As we've already discussed, yeah.
Right. So earlier this week, we posted on our Facebook group page a poll asking for your movie hot takes, movies that you enjoy but seem to be in the minority of folks that enjoy those movies.
Yeah, and I think we should also kind of put a little caveat emptor in here, so to speak. We're not trying to have a debate about whether a movie is objectively good or not.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's all about how you feel about it. Your opinion, your subjective opinion.
So thanks, Ted. We do have a certain set of criteria that we have perfected over a certain set of years. That make us.
AKA, we talked about this last Tuesday, and I was like, yes, that sounds good. Put it in the show notes.
Right. So it's not necessarily going to be like, I like this movie and everyone else doesn't next movie on the list. It'll be, it's kind of like porn, that classic definition that someone threw out there. That's like, it's hard to describe, but I know it when I see it.
Usually there's penetration of something by something.
For me, it's when the penis goes in.
Everybody's got their thing, man.
I know, right? I guess anatomically and biologically, that's how it works. But anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today. I don't think,
Wow.
unless we just want to switch gears here for a second.
Nope, that's next week's episode.
Yeah. Okay. So, like I said, we had some submissions on our Facebook group page poll. Hey, how's that for alliteration? So Chris V, he suggested Love Stinks. Ted, have you heard of this movie?
No, I've not. Which is
Yeah.
surprising because I've heard of every movie.
Right, you're like that dull dude from Family Guy with the backwards hat that he's kind of like friends with Chris and he claims to have seen every movie.
Yeah,
That's basically you.
Yeah, I'm taller, but that's not inaccurate.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it really doesn't matter in this case. I know Chris. He's a neighbor of mine, but he literally has never listened to any podcast, including mine. So there's a very
fuck him and his non-podcast listening opinion. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Friend of the show, John A, wrote in The Butterfly Effect, stating that it was probably the lowest rated movie in his top 10. Now, I'm confused by that, David. Does he mean it's the lowest rated movie for him, so it's like number 10, or does he mean that, generally speaking, that's the movie that has the lowest consensus opinion among other people that he considers his top 10?
That one, the latter. That's what I gathered. Although you do bring up an interesting point, so I may need to get with him with clarification. But that is what
it doesn't matter. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an okay movie. I remember a friend of mine not long after the movie came out being like, it's a lot like Donnie Darko, but with a more handsome male lead. And I was just like, that's a weird thing to say.
Right.
That's how you judge it. What? Like, that's such a weird thing to judge a movie by. Like, the lead's better looking. Okay.
That's literally the only difference.
Yeah, right.
There's still men in rabbit suits and talk of time travel and beasties and.
I mean, two teenage heartthrobs, time travel, basically the same movie. Although, yeah, I don't know.
Moving on. So Susie G, she suggested Eyes Wide Shut.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. I think objectively speaking, it's a good movie. Of course, that we did say at the top that that's not really what we're here to talk about.
Right.
But I mean, granted, you could be in the only one in your circle of friends that dislikes it.
No, I mean, I think it's a very misunderstood movie by a lot of people, because
sure.
I think a lot of people, when they saw, Kubrick's making a sex movie, was kind of what they were going to. And I was like, why would anyone think that? Kubrick never made that kind of like erotica type movie. Like, why would he do that now as like a septuagenarian?
Right.
So, I mean, I think that it fits the criteria, because I do think that a lot of people don't hold it in very high regard, especially considering who the director is and who was involved in the film.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a really good fucking movie, and I support this person's claim.
Yeah. I think just the score alone is enough to send this movie into the fucking stratosphere. Like, taking a hint from Jaws with the most basic tones you could possibly think of, just sending chills down your spine. Just dun 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 dun.
Also, the movie is kind of fucking horrifying. In
just
a lot of aspects, just a little bit, but it's a great one. I fully support that inclusion on the list. They also had Showgirls, which is funny because that's actually also on my list. It's a legitimately good movie in my opinion. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that for whenever we get to your list.
Friend of the show, Olivia H, said the Hobbit trilogy. Now, I have not seen the Hobbit films. I do know that they were pretty divisive amongst watchers,
right,
so to speak, so to say. And they're definitely not held in the same regard that like the original Lord of the Rings trilogy is.
No.
So
yeah, they were definitely pretty heavy on the CG, so I can see how that like deterred a lot of people. I know that they also took a lot of like, I don't know if you want to call them artistic liberties, but uh, Legolas was not in the Hobbit, the book, and I know some people were enthused that they decided to add Legolas in, and then other people, like I guess purists, were like, "What the fuck?" Uh, you know,
Yeah. I I don't really have any other opinions on it other than, like I said, I know that it's definitely held in a much lower regard. My
right?
only thing, I guess, my only opinion on it is like, why in the name of God did you turn one book into 3 feature-length movies? It's not even a very long book.
Yeah. I I remember when Peter Jackson announced that he was going to be splitting it into 3 movies. I personally was excited. I guess just because it was like taking all of the small details from the book and like squeezing every single last drop that you can into the movies, to translate the small details into the movie. So I think that's why I was excited about it.
And what did you learn?
That it didn't necessarily need to go down that way, I
Indeed.
guess.
Indeed.
But hey, I still enjoyed them. Me personally, I liked the Hobbit trilogy. I did not. I will admit, I did not like it as much as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I still enjoyed the hell out of it. So
I think I think it definitely fits our criteria though.
for sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like it definitely fits in there. Um, Ryan P. He threw out the Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I have to be real honest here. I have not seen this movie yet. I don't know why. It's been on my list for a while. David Fincher is like one of my favorite directors of all time, but for some reason, I just have not gotten to this movie. But I do feel like it kind of fits the criteria. I remember when it came out, and it was pretty polarizing. Isn't that right?
I don't really remember it being polarizing. I know somebody else commented on the poll and was like, "Did it win a bunch of fucking Oscars?" And yeah, I think it did. I personally have not seen it because I don't really have an interest in seeing it. I mean, I like Fincher, but I'm not. I just this movie wasn't doing it for me.
Sure.
So I can't personally speak to whether or not it belongs on the list. But you know what? We're gonna let him have this one. So, friend of the show and friend IRL, Gail, has selected Twilight.
Enrika F. She chose Twilight as well.
Oh yeah, I see that a little further down. I personally have never seen any of the Twilight films.
Dad, you're missing out.
I don't feel like I am. Do they belong on, like, I don't, is it a hot take that they're good actually? Because weren't they, maybe I'm bending the criteria on this one, but like, I feel like a lot of people really like them. I don't know that they're disliked. Maybe they're disliked by people that aren't the target audience. Maybe.
Yeah, it's really hard to get into it on just a surface level. Like, hey, we're gonna spend a quick like 60 to 90 seconds on this topic and move on. It would really need its own episode to describe the
We'll
phenomenon.
Just skip right by it then. I know it was a big deal.
I know Twilight is having a little bit of a renaissance right now, for some reason or another. I think it might have to do with Midnight Sun, which was just recently published, but I could be wrong. Either way, I kind of see it fitting into the criteria a little bit. Ted, you were correct that they were pretty fucking big when the books and then subsequent movies came out.
Right.
But then, it was pretty easy like to shit on these movies because, objectively they were
made to make money as the sole purpose.
Essentially, yeah, but
devoid of artistic credit and merit.
Yeah, we're like you said, we're gonna skip over this so we don't have to jump into.
So we don't get canceled on the Twitter.com. That's
right.
Fair.
Yeah. So, good friend of the show and fellow patron Jeff B. He said, "Rise of Skywalker." We are going to skip over this one for now because it is actually on my list as well. And I have some thoughts and feelings. So we'll dive into that whenever the time comes. So, yeah, thanks for your submission, Jeff.
Yeah, friend of the show, Megan Z, picked Moulin Rouge, which I don't recall having ever seen. The only thing I remember about Moulin Rouge is that it had that really obnoxious song that was like everywhere for a while, and everybody thought they could speak French as a result.
Yeah, the Lady
Voulez-vous coucher avec,
Marmalade.
yeah, Lady Marmalade, voulez-vous coucher avec moi? And I'm like, that's like one sentence in French. That does not make you fucking. Whew, I'm getting on a. It's warm in here. Is it? Is it hot?
It's hot. Are you hot? No, I responded like, wait, people don't like this movie? Like, how can you not fucking like this? It's got Ewan McGregor. It's got
Who is delightful.
Right, and it's got
other people,
um
presumably.
no, it's from Eyes Wide Shut.
Nicole Kidman.
Yes, thank you, Nicole Kidman. And they're both delightful. Like they're fantastic. And so to hear her say that, like, people that she knows say that they don't like it, I was like, I'm gonna drive up to where you live and then like kick them in the schnutz, because that's what you deserve for not liking Moulin Rouge. That's a little extreme, but either way.
We don't encourage violence unless violence is necessary.
Right. And in this case,
maybe it is. This is a
yeah.
Don't know.
Right. Moving on, Steve O.L. He suggested My Little Eye. Ted, have you heard of this one? He said that it's kind of like a not so well known horror flick.
No, I must admit a lack of familiarity with this one as well. I'm losing my bona fides during this episode.
No, it's cool. He did admit that he wasn't really sure if it would qualify as a hot take, but he's really into like obscure horror movies. I'd like to get you and him in the same room for a conversation, because I feel like that would be an interesting dynamic. He's got a very weird taste in movies.
Okay, well, a man after my own heart. Next we have Brooke, who selected the Speed Racer movie. Is it Wachowskis or Wachowskis?
I think it's the Wachowskis.
I can't remember how it's pronounced, so we're going to say the Wachowskis. That's probably wrong, but none of this matters. Yes. That movie was like reviled when it came out, so I want to say this is a great pick as a hot take.
Yeah, I think.
However, I'm sorry, David. However, it's kind of getting a little bit of a reappraisal by people lately, the last year or so.
Yeah.
So I'm going to allow it, as you know. Obviously, my opinion matters here, of course, but I think it's a great pick because, like I said, I don't remember anyone ever saying a good thing about this movie.
Yeah, me neither.
Until like 28 days ago.
Yeah. So when she said Speed Racer, I was like, that's probably the best hot take on this list.
Yeah.
And then, but I remember it was kind of having, like you said, a little bit of a renaissance and reappraisal in its value and what the movie's trying to do. I've never seen it. I just kind of like what you were saying. It came out, everyone was shitting on it. So I was like, okay, well, I guess it's just not worth seeing. So I just never really got around to seeing it.
I never watched it because I was such a fan of the cartoon growing up. I was just like, I don't want this to ruin anything for me, so I'm going to avoid it. Right. And I've never really come back around to giving it a chance. I mean, maybe I should, because the Wachowskis, however you say their goddamn name, they're very talented individuals. So maybe
this would
it's good. Actually.
Yeah, maybe we should put a pin in this for a potential watch along in the near future.
That's an idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. But yeah, I think that. Oh no, we still got a couple more. So Robert E. he voiced his pick of Last Action Hero. I wasn't aware that people dislike this movie.
Yeah, this is another really divisive one.
Yeah, I get it though. I mean, it's kind of, this is the one with Arnold.
With
get down.
The
Get
title.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching the shit out of this movie when I was younger. Like, I was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan.
Of
Like,
course, you were a male child in the 1990s.
in terms of him being an actor, like, I was a huge fan.
Yeah, same. Still am, in fact.
So yeah, right. Yeah. No, he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think is a real stand-up dude. Like,
yeah, he's aside from the whole cheating on his wife thing, he's a good dude
sure,
IRL.
right?
Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect.
I was just gonna say the same thing. Like, I mean, hey, we're not advocating for cheating on your spouse, but yeah, like you said, nobody's perfect.
Everybody makes mistakes. But Bill Burr has a great bit about that. I'm not going to, go into it because that would derail the podcast. And also I don't want to, steal another guy's joke. But
Right.
Bill Burr has a fucking phenomenal and hysterical bit about Arnold Schwarzenegger that I encourage everybody to look up.
Yeah.
I think this is a good pick because I think it is kind of a hot take, although this movie has kind of gotten a reappraisal recently as we talked about with Speed Racer. I do think that I think it was ahead of its time in that a lot of films that not necessarily borrowed ideas from this, but kind of were in that same vein with some of the meta stuff and the humor.
Right.
Kind of came along afterwards. And I think if this movie came out maybe 10 years later, it would have been more generally accepted, I guess. But
Sure.
I think I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's got some great ideas that are not necessarily well executed, but I think it's a great pick for this list.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. You got the last one?
Yeah, and friend of the show, Mackenzie, picked The Master of Disguise, which is was she talking about the Dana Carvey movie?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
I have not seen this. So
I just remember like the proto meme of like turtle. I've never seen it either because I love myself too much for that. But hey, whatever floats your boat. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I can't speak to the validity of it being an actual hot take or not, but hey, if you think it is, then good job, and thank you for your submission, and thank you everyone for your submissions. We appreciate your participation and giving us an ability to make this podcast a little bit longer with this cool segment. So
yeah, probably too long now actually because we're already at like minute 40, but we're gonna edit a bunch out. This is totally fine. None of this matters.
Fuck it.
All right. Well,
So
now that we got
picks.
the bad opinions out of the way, let's get the good stuff going. Right.
Right. Get to the people that really matter.
That's right. The talent.
Yeah. Fucking jerk offs. Shit. Okay.
We call you people normies.
Right. All right. So my first pick is the penultimate terrible fucking movie, and that is Plan 9 from Outer Space. Now, some people hate this movie because it is actually objectively bad. Anyone that says it's a good movie is lying to your fucking face.
Yeah, they don't care about you.
Right. And or your well-being. And then some people like it unironically. But regardless of where you stand, this is where I stand. I like it, and I think it's fucking fun to watch, and it reminds me a lot of it kind of feels like if I was to direct a movie, it'd just be a mess. Like someone would be knocking over props. Like, there's a scene where the girl, she rises from the grave and she's like walking through the graveyard and she like kicks a tombstone and it like rattles, and like they should have reshot that scene, but he was like, no, it's fine. Like we'll just keep going, and we'll focus on other things. Like
hopefully no one notices.
Right. That would totally be me directing a movie. Like I'm just like, I don't give a shit enough to like get everything right. I'm not that much of a perfectionist, which is why I have never made an active attempt to direct movies. There you go, folks. That answers the age-old question.
No one asked, but thank you for that
You're
definitive
welcome.
answer.
Yes, you're welcome, Ted.
My life, for one, is much more fulfilled now knowing that.
Which is why I brought it up. So
thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ted, what's your first pick?
So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way and say that basically 90% of the action and horror movies I've ever watched, I have liked regardless of how terrible they were. And I mean both in the sense of objectively terrible, like they're bad movies, and subjectively terrible, as in they're terrible movies that I like somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go ahead and get that caveat out of the way. And anybody that's a big horror aficionado, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. My first real pick might be my most controversial.
Okay.
I unironically enjoy Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay.
There's parts of it that I would take out and delete from our collective consciousness. For sure. But I find a lot of the negative things that are said about it are kind of dumb and like meritless. People are like, it's dumb that they're interdimensional beings. I was like, in the end of The Last Crusade, there's a 900-year-old knight, and nobody said shit. So I don't know. I think it's a fun movie. Like I said, there are parts of it that I would not have personally put in there and would like to take out. But generally speaking, I like that movie a lot, even though I don't think it's held in very high regard.
Yeah. So I'm not. I've seen all of the Indiana Jones movies, but basically like once each. I know, shame on me.
Shame on you, dude. I watch those movies like 4 times a year.
Where does that lie in which, I guess, quote unquote number is that in the franchise?
That is number 4. So
okay.
To date, that is the most recent one.
Okay, so that's the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
Okay. See, like, I remember watching that and not having a problem with it. I guess it helps that, like, I didn't grow up with the Indiana Jones movies and I don't hold them, like, super close to my heart. So if anything potentially goes awry or wrong with the movies, I don't curl up into the fetal position and cry my fucking eyes out like a fucking baby. But yeah, I remember going to the theater and seeing it there and liking it.
I saw it on opening night, Thursday at midnight.
Yes, because that's what
That's
happened.
What I do.
Right, went back.
That was when it was safe. You could go to movies and not worry about getting shot.
Or
this country.
Or Rona.
Or Rona, yeah. No, but I mean, we could dither on about it, but it's not my favorite in the franchise, and it's probably honestly my least favorite of the franchise, but I still take enjoyment from it.
Sure. So my second pick is just in general the Fast and Furious franchise. We talked a little bit about this last week when we were talking about Fast 9 or F9 or Furious 9, whatever the hell they ended up calling that movie. But yeah, like
Furious in Space.
Okay. Yeah.
No one under the age of 30 is going to get that joke, but I'm proud that I made it.
Hey, according to our stats, the majority of our listeners are like 25 plus. So,
all right, well,
yeah.
There's hope for us yet.
Yeah. No, I totally understand everyone's like gripes with this franchise. Like, oh my God, they keep on making more. And like, they're just totally ridiculous. And the thing you said about like, how do they go from stealing DVD players off the back of a semi to like international espionage?
Right.
Like how, like you missed something in there.
Several somethings, I think.
Right. And granted, like over 9 movies, you're able to make a little bit of a gradual step up with each movie with how more insane they get. But like, I think that the movies, for what they do, they're incredibly self-aware. Like
so they kind of lean into it.
Yeah, they really lean into their ridiculousness. Like they know that they're ridiculous, that all the stunts that they do, like you can never do with a car. Like you just, in one of the most recent ones, they're in I think it was oh God, I think it was in India, and they jumped a car from one skyscraper into another skyscraper.
What?
Yeah, like just a car.
Didn't they do that in the movie Wanted?
Possibly, but they also did it in here, where like the car was like I think it's just in a high rise, and someone owned it, and yeah, they stole the car and they drove it out the fucking window and into the neighboring skyscraper.
I might need to
So,
reassess these movies because that sounds dope.
dude, I'm telling you, like, they are totally ridiculous, but like the last 17 have The Rock in them. So, like, that's, in my opinion, that's all the incentive that you need.
That's fair.
Um, yeah. But anyways, I totally get why, a lot of people shit on them and whatnot, but I really like them. They're big dumb fun. I think you need some of those movies in your life. It can't be all artsy fartsy
For
all the
sure.
time.
I
So
respect that. I respect
yeah.
that.
Anyways, moving on.
My next pick we did an episode on fairly recently, and that is Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
I legitimately enjoy this movie. I think it, like you said about the Fast and the Furious franchise, it really leans into the
Mhm.
absurdity
Oh yeah.
and doesn't take itself too seriously. I don't want to talk about it too much because, like I said, we did do a full episode on it not long ago. But I just wanted to reiterate, I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah. Like you said, they really leaned into it. Like they actively went out of their way to make sure that no one took it seriously. Like when they were writing it, and
And in fact, could not be taken seriously.
right, like they wanted someone tried to take a step in the serious direction, and Sam Jackson threatened to walk off uh because they wanted to rename the movie something serious, and he was like, no, you're gonna name it Motherfucking Snakes on the Motherfucking Plane or I'm walking. And that's all she wrote, folks. So um yeah, that's a good pick. um my next pick is Magic Mike, and unironically like this movie. I really enjoy it. I'm a big Soderbergh fan. Soderbergh, however the fuck you say his name. Um, I will admit I do watch it because I'm kind of jealous that I'm not like fucking buff like that. But I actually think it's a good movie. All dick pumping aside, which is actually a scene in that movie. uh,
I've never seen this movie.
oh
My
yeah,
only,
there's a dick pumping scene.
I'm sure, it's called Magic Mike. It just goes with the territory.
Yeah.
My only knowledge of this movie is going to the theaters and being behind these two middle-aged, I'm assuming wine moms, and them going and asking the poor person working the tickets about every single movie that was playing and saving that one for last. And then being like, what is that about? All coy. And the guy
Uh-huh.
just being like, trying to explain it to him. And they were like, that sounds good. Let's see that. And I just wanted to be like, woman, you know what you came for. Embrace it. All right. You know goddamn well that's the movie you wanted to see 10 minutes ago when you walked up to the fucking window.
Right. I
Just
mean,
embrace it.
it's a movie with a bunch of hot dudes with no shirts and and banana slings, just
You
getting it,
know,
making
there's
that paper.
and there's nothing wrong with liking that. Okay.
And there's nothing wrong
Just
with
just
doing that.
just yeah. So just
Know your
we're all
role and
about
shut your
acceptance.
hole.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say a little nicer than that, but basically, yeah.
Right, like I come at it from the aggressive angle, and you're actually nice about it. So,
What a
right, fuck,
weird change of pace.
right, fuck David, fuck that guy, and his dumbass opinions.
Hmm.
Anyways, Ted, what's your next pick?
This is a movie I've probably mentioned on the podcast before. It is bad, but I like it, and that's Bloodsport.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to describe this movie to a friend of mine. I don't know, a year or so ago, and I was like, "So it's not good exactly, but it's got its moments, and I like it." And that was they didn't get it. It's goofy. It's a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie from the 80s, so it's basically like, what can we do to get him in as little clothing as possible and looked as coked up out of his mind as possible? And it succeeds. there's some stuff in it that is gross and I don't like. That's unfortunate, but I mean, it's a dumb karate movie from the 1980s. You just got to accept the good with the bad, and I like it. I liked it since I was a kid.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. I don't think I've seen that movie. I believe I know what you're talking about,
Hmm.
uh, but and it has been on my list. I just because my list is 5,000 miles long, I haven't gotten to it yet. So, but anyways, next up on my list is Donnie Darko. This movie catches a lot of flack. I feel like, and I get it, but I I don't. I think it's because I saw this movie at like a formidable age, so uh, it kind of blew me out of the water when I saw it, and I don't. I felt like it checked a bunch of boxes in like movie genre categories that didn't really make sense. Like it was kind of humor and kind of comedy, and then kind of sci-fi and kind of horror, um and I had never really seen anything like it before. And also, like, it had a really cool website. Like, you went to the Donnie Darko website and it was like all built in Flash, I think, and it like took you on this like time travel journey. I just remember going to that, and it was really neat. But anyways, like, I don't know, I like the movie. I don't really have any line of defense per se for saying why I like it,
It's
but
indefensible, frankly, but that's neither here nor there.
sure, we'll go with that. Um, yeah. Anyways, Ted, what's your next one?
Um, I'll just go ahead and get out of the way because I mentioned it at the top of the show. But I think Showgirls is a legitimately good movie, and it's misunderstood because it's got a lot of nudity in it.
Hmm.
Obviously based on the title, and I think that a lot of people were just like, "Oh, that's the movie with the Saved by the Bell girl where she takes her clothes off." And while that is true, there's actually a story to it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's not the best movie in the world, but I think it's better than it gets credit for.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I've seen it, honestly. But maybe I should check it out.
Watch it after the kids go to bed, and maybe after your wife goes to bed too.
Yeah, I tend to reserve those like really awkward movies that you just prefer to watch alone, like
Yeah.
after lights out for everyone. Um, that's how I end up watching most movies, anyways. But uh, that's just because I'm a night owl. So, but next up on my list is the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, the one with Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man slash Peter Parker. I feel like so if people were to say, and I believe the collective quote unquote people do say this, that this is kind of like the lesser than of all the Spider-Man franchises, with either Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland being like neck and neck for first, and then this being like lower on the totem pole. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I do feel like it deserves a lot more credit than it's given. Um, I feel like Andrew Garfield is way too handsome to be like a dorky Peter Parker, but he was a really fun Spider-Man. I feel like he had some really good quips. So, yeah, Ted, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I actually I was going to say what you more or less what you just said in that I think the general consensus, or at least the consensus I've seen from a lot of people discussing the three actors who have played the character, is that Toby is the best Peter Parker because he's kind of goofy
Right.
and geeky looking. Um, Andrew is the best Spider-Man, and then Tom
Hmm.
Holland is a good mix of both.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think these movies, I think they suffered the same fate as Spider-Man 3 did from the Raimi trilogy, where they tried to do too much with the sequel, one of the, or I guess in Raimi's case, one of the sequels. But
Sure.
um, I mean, I think there were definitely some good parts.
Yeah, I was really happy with their decision to go with not Mary Jane, and actually go with the Gwen Stacy timeline. So I definitely appreciated that. It was a nice break from from that, and doing something else. And I know that the Gwen Stacy storyline is held in pretty well regard amongst crazed Spider-Man fans, like myself. But yeah, I think that they don't really get as much credit, and Garfield doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. So yeah,
they don't get talked about nearly as much as either the Raimi trilogy or, of course, the newer ones with Holland. Just I think for the simple fact that the Holland ones are new, so they're more contemporary.
sure,
But
yeah,
yeah, I do remember the first Amazing Spider-Man when it came out. I think it was pretty well liked, but I do agree that it kind of has taken residence as the least
right,
acclaimed, so to speak, of the available films or series.
yeah, for sure. What do you got next?
Okay. All right, I liked this movie a lot when I was a kid, and I rewatched it recently, and I think it holds up for what it's trying to do, and that's The Mummy with
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Fraser. It's basically Indiana Jones light. And I mean, that sounds cool to me, so I liked it. I don't think it's a well-regarded movie, but I like it a lot.
So I kind of agree with you and disagree at the same time. Like, I feel like at the time they were not like held as like great movies. They could almost be like straight to DVD movies if they
They made
wanted
a
to.
lot of money, though,
Right.
which I know is not a mark of, quality, but
But like Brendan Fraser has come back around in like a big way, like Rick Moranis style, where like people want more Brendan Fraser.
I think that's
And
because people found out what happened to Brendan Fraser.
God, I can't remember exact. Yeah, I can't remember what happened. I feel
So he got blacklisted in Hollywood because he was trigger warning assaulted in some way by a producer,
that's
and
right.
and he came out to talk about it, and he got blacklisted for a long time because of it, and it kind of ruined his life, and his marriage fell apart, and that's a whole other thing
Yeah.
where he was paying like $75,000 a month, I think, in spousal support,
Fuck.
which is fucking madness. But yeah, I think once that kind of came out and people were like, oh, fuck that, Brendan Fraser rules,
Yeah,
I
that's
think he's starting to come back. He's in the next Aronofsky. He's supposed to be in Aronofsky's next film. So
really
yeah, he's supposed to star in it. I think he's the lead in it. I'm
okay.
not 100% on that, but yeah.
That's
So
cool.
I'm glad that he's coming back around. I always liked Brendan Fraser. He
Yeah.
had a great mix of, or he had a great charisma that was a mix of like dashing leading man style as well as like self-aware enough to be goofy and
Right.
not like just yuck it up kind of goofy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw at least one of the Mummy movies, but the Brendan Fraser that I know best is his role in, what was it, Bedazzled, with
Yeah.
Elizabeth, what's her name?
Hurley.
Yeah, that's the Brendan Fraser that I'm most familiar with, and yeah, that's just like you described him. That's kind of like nail on the fucking head right there. Like he had that like super good looking wavy hair that was perfect for that
Mm-hmm.
time period, that late 90s early 2000s look, light and fluffy. He was good looking, but he also had like really good comedic chops too.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully he'll, you know with him, coming back into the spotlight, making movies again, we'll get some more good shit from him. So
Yeah, that would be dope. That
yeah.
would be dope. He was also on Scrubs for a couple episodes, as I recall.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, David. What's your next one here?
All right, so next on my list, as promised, our good buddy Jeff, he threw out his opinion on the Rise of Skywalker, and I said that I had it on my list as well. I have Rise of Skywalker and just the new trilogy as a whole. I want to try and hit the highlights as much as possible so I don't end up like getting on my soapbox and like fucking yelling at people. But like, goddamn you Star Wars fans, like, can't you have any fucking fun?
No.
Like, like, you people, what do you mean you people? You people take this shit way too fucking seriously. They are fucking Star Wars movies,
The
okay?
movies for children.
They are meant to be fun. They are meant to be lighthearted. You're not meant to have a cathartic experience afterwards. If you have one, fantastic. Congratulations for you. But that's not supposed to happen by default. They're supposed to be fun. And they came out, people were like expecting just a life altering moment in time. And that didn't happen, and they kicked rocks and they screamed at the heavens and they were like, God damn you, JJ Abrams and the other fucking director that directed the last
Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Yes, I knew that. I know what things are. But yeah, off my soapbox. Rise of Skywalker, yes, it moves at a pace that is neck breaking. And yes, they don't give Finn his fair due, but I think that the movie and the trilogy overall as a whole was fucking great. It was a lot of fun and had strong, empowering female characters. Had fucking Carrie Fisher in it. So if you don't like them, I'm sorry that you hate life so much. So, go fuck yourself. Off my soapbox. Go ahead, Ted.
Wow. What do you even say?
There's nothing to say.
Nope. I have nothing to add to that. Literally. This is a tough one for me because it's a comedy, and I think comedy of all genres is probably the most subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if an action movie is poorly acted, you can still like the action, for example. But if a comedy is not funny, you're fucked. Like, that's what your whole movie turns on. So I think it's a little harder to assess and appraise comedies on a level playing ground, so to speak. But anyway, I'll stop rambling about my pretentious bullshit. And then my next film is Grandma's Boy.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn stupid. I love it so much. I quote this movie too often.
Yeah, you and I.
Yeah, with David
forth.
a lot. I quote this movie. I quote this movie at work. Like, fuck it, I'll go to the loony bin with you. I don't care. I just love this movie. It's so fucking stupid, and I think that's what's so endearing to me about it.
You can't get past a lion, bro.
Nobody fucks with a lion.
No.
It's the king of the jungle, kid.
Sir, can you explain to me what happened to you today? Holy shit, this is fucking crazy, yo. I come home from work, and who do I see in the tree? It's the fucking king of the jungle. Like, his accent fucking kills me. Like, and for no fucking reason whatsoever, the dude is ripped in this movie. Like, the first time you see him, he's like butt naked, and like he's got like abs and everything. I'm just like, what the hell? Like, like, where the hell did that come from?
It doesn't matter. It makes it funnier.
Yeah, it really does. But yeah, this is a great pick, Ted. I mean, objectively speaking, like, it's dumb.
Oh, it's dumb as hell.
Yeah, but it's like one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think this is like the only comedy that we've ever considered doing a watch along for. Like, we've discussed, how comedies and watch alongs might not make a good pair, but isn't that right? This is like one of the.
This is one of the. It's on the short list. Yeah, like I said, I love this movie. I just watched it again the other day with my girlfriend, and we were both cracking up at it. It's just so funny.
Is it streaming anywhere right now? Or
did you we watched it on IMDb TV. So there's ads, but I think there were only like 3 ad breaks of like a minute and a half each. So it's not like it's not crazy.
Yeah, those IMDb TV movies, that get thrown up on there, the ad time is actually not bad.
Yeah, it's not as obnoxious as like Hulu.
Yeah, where it's like a
Called the fuck out, Hulu.
right. Shit. Okay. Next up on my list is just Adam Sandler movies in general. I guess particularly the later days when he stopped doing like the dumbass comedy like Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and stuff like that, and he started doing movies like Click and uh, what are the other ones? Basically, every single movie that Jennifer Aniston has been in for the last like 15 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't understand what it is with Adam Sandler and like putting really hot girls in his movies as his wife.
Wish fulfillment.
Uh, but I think I would do the same thing if I had the money and the reach to be like, hey, you want to come be in my movie and play my hot wife? That like
giving schlubby douchebags everywhere a new lease on life.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, I don't think that his movies are really as bad as everyone tries to make them out to be. Like, are they the same caliber and same material as his earlier, like close to SNL days? Like, no, but you know, he grew up and he got married and he had kids. So like, you know, you can't expect someone to make like the same dumbass humor films over and over again. So I don't know. I will say that I don't enjoy his newer movies as much as the older ones.
I think my next one is going to be kind of controversial because I'm going to lump 3 movies together, and that is the Matrix Trilogy.
Okay.
I know. Everybody loves the first movie. I love all of them. I will take no slander about any of those films.
Mm-hmm. Damn right.
Fight me IRL. I know they go off the rails and they get completely batshit, and the directors lose their way, and the story loses its way, and I feel like the actors are like, what the fuck are we even doing at this point? I don't know. It's got Keanu Reeves as a cyber goth repeatedly kicking Hugo Weaving in the face. And if you don't like that, go fuck yourself, San Diego.
If you don't like that, I got 2 words for you. Suck.
That's right. We're going to crotch chop you at the bottom of the ocean.
That's a callback from one of our earlier episodes. I don't even know how the hell we got on that tangent on that episode, but we were talking about
James Cameron living the best life anybody has ever lived.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But jokes aside, I mean, look, I get it. There are a lot of legitimate critiques about the second and third films in that trilogy. I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you.
Yeah, what
that's
Ted
my
said.
my official stance.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I agree with you, Ted. To love the first Matrix movie means to love them all, whether you like it or not. So yeah, do it. Deal with it. Moving on. My next pick is Independence Day. I will say that this movie is not great.
But you're being very generous.
However, it has got the best presidential apocalyptic speech in any movie ever.
That's right. Welcome to Earth is the top of the pops for that.
Right. I don't know. I think this movie just hit at the exact right time in my life. Like, I was obsessed with aliens. I was obsessed with Will Smith. And this movie had both of those things.
That's true.
And it had a kick-ass speech from an awesome president who was like, fuck you. I used to be in the Air Force. I'm getting up there and I'm going to be a pilot at least one last time and kick some alien ass. And I was like, fuck yeah, Mr. President, go do your thing. And yeah, like, what else do you need? Yeah, the CG was like fucking terrible. But it was
1996, bros. What do you want?
Yeah, and it's got Vivica A. Fox. So what the hell else do you want?
Sure.
Yeah,
I watched that movie exactly one time when it was new, and I was just like, even
Yeah,
at
that
10 years old, I was like, nah, I'm cool.
I love it. But I like alien movies, so
I mean, look, I'm not here to shit on your parade because I get it. A lot of people like it. I should like it based on everything that is going for it. Will Smith, aliens, explosions, Vivica A. Fox. I get it, but I don't because it's bad.
But
But
no, hey, I will say this about the sequel that everyone, including myself, waited like fucking forever and a day for. I remember like getting out of it, like Lindsay and I, my wife, for those that you don't know, I remember driving out of like the Opry Mills parking lot. And we were just kind of sitting in silence, and like we turned to each other and we're like, that kind of fucking sucked, didn't it? Like it was legit boring, not really good, and just did not live up to what we were all kind of hoping that it would. Did it? No, it did not. So anyways, moving on. Ted, what's your next one?
I have one last thought on Independence Day, and that is it has a
Okay.
great REM song. That's the highlight of the movie for me.
Oh,
But
yeah, and it's got Jeff Goldblum. You
yeah,
know,
those are the two good things about it.
Yeah.
Keeping in a similar vein with Aliens, I was very excited for this movie when it came out, and I do have some problems with it, but I still like it a lot more than the general consensus is, and that is Prometheus.
I like it too.
I actually, fun fact, won movie tickets to see this movie from the radio. The
Really?
radio. The only thing I've ever won in my entire life. Yeah,
Like
but
period?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, aside from like my degenerative gambler days. But
I won tickets to a Regina Spektor concert several years ago
I
by
do not know who that is.
she is a singer songwriter, pianist, vocalist.
She sounds
But
delightful.
she's her music is so it's not really my thing. It's good, but I wouldn't necessarily go to a live show. So when I won tickets, I was just excited that I won and like that I knew the answer. Um, and so I called the radio station back and was like, "Hey, can I pass these tickets on to someone else?" But and I only asked that because I had a friend at the time who was obsessed with Regina Spektor, and also had a friend that was obsessed. And of course, it was 2 tickets, so I was just like, yeah, if they're gonna be just picked up at will call, then here's a couple names that of people that will come and pick up the tickets. And so they let me pass the names on to those people and give them the tickets. So that was
All
cool.
right.
Yeah. Anyways, little illegal tangent segue there. So, oh yeah, is it you just
Yeah,
went,
I
right?
was pretty much done. How do you come
Okay.
back from that? So
You can't. Once again, I derail everything. I ruin everything. Um. Anyways, so my next pick, we're kind of getting down to the bottom of the barrel, end of the list here. One of my last picks is Tusk. Legit, I feel like I am in the minority here. This is like one of the tried and true hot takes on my list. I struggle to find other people that like this movie. I love it. I think it's equal parts horrific and hilarious. Um, I thought it was hilarious that I got to see Justin Long get sewed into a very horrifying walrus suit made out of other human body parts and skin. Um, yeah, there's not much that I can say about this movie. I'm not going to try and justify its worth. Um, I just know that I really enjoy it, and at least a couple times a year I'll watch it just because it's uh, I find it fun and entertaining.
I don't even think Kevin Smith likes that movie, man.
Kevin Smith, he likes all his movies. I
I
mean,
think he's making a Clerk sequel as like an apology for Tusk.
Maybe I don't know.
But hey, whatever. You're not hurting anybody. My last pick stars everybody's favorite actor now. That is Keanu Reeves.
Everyone's favorite actor now.
Am I wrong? Go on the internet. Motherfuckers love Keanu Reeves, and I am a proud Keanu Knight. Can whatever one of his followers are calling themselves now. I'm one of them.
He's the best guy ever.
Yeah, he's
That's
legitimately an amazing human being.
Mm-hmm.
Keanu for Prez for life. Anyway, Johnny Mnemonic. It's supposed to be a big sci-fi movie in the 90s. It's based on, I believe, a short story by William Gibson, who is also the author of Neuromancer, as well as a lot of other famous cyberpunk type works. And it was not well received at all. It was, in fact, it's not good, but I like it a lot. I saw that it was on some streaming service the other day, and I was like, add to queue, because I'm going to watch that this weekend. And in fact, when we stop recording, I'm probably going to watch it. It is very, very corny, very, very dumb, very, very fun.
Right on.
Of course, maybe I'm only saying that because I haven't seen it in 20 years, but hey, I'm gonna keep hope alive here.
Yeah, like I said, I have not heard of this movie, but if it has Keanu Reeves, that's good enough for me to at least, give it a consider. So yeah. But the last movie on my list is just M. Night Shyamalan movies, films. Aside from Lady in the Water, that you're on your own on that one.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Yeah, and we talked again about this one on our previous podcast a little bit when we talked about Shyamalan's upcoming movie Old. But I agree that after Unbreakable and The Sixth Sense, the overall quality in his movies kind of dropped significantly, but I still think that he's got a pretty good track record. It is really hard to live up to those two movies because they really fucking knocked it out of the park. They were literally like nothing we've really ever seen before. But I really liked The Village, and everyone shit on The Village. I really like Signs. Everyone shit on that movie as well. I think so. Glass, I was okay with that one. It wasn't perfect, but it was a decent, like, quote unquote sequel to Unbreakable. It was okay. I thought Split was fucking fantastic. That was a great, like, just straight up horror movie. And James McAvoy, he can not only act, but he can act as like 24 different people. With great aplomb. So yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I feel like his movies get talked down a lot, so I'm here to boost him up a bit. So
yeah, I think he has really, really great highs and really, really terrible lows, and there's not a lot of in between. But we said this on the last podcast when we were talking about Old. Just based off of The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, he's god tier.
Right. Yeah. I feel like with those two movies, he's got enough cred to like last him the rest of his career. So, but anyways, that's the end of your list, right, Ted?
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess all that's left is to jump into our closing segment of shit that doesn't suck, and then wrap this bitch up.
Yes.
Ted, you got a pick for us?
I do. As I've mentioned probably too many times on the podcast in the past, I'm a huge Godzilla nerd.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that Funimation was re-releasing Shin Godzilla on Blu-ray, and I might finally be able to get a fucking copy for a decent price, I scooped one up quickly.
Nice.
So that is my pick, Shin Godzilla. It is, I think, still the most recent Toho Godzilla film. It is different. It's sort of a reimagining of the origin, so to speak. It's a very different kind of movie. It's very fucking weird, but I like it a lot. It's done by, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but it's done by the same guy who created Neon Genesis Evangelion, which a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with. It's pretty big in the anime community.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very. To me, this is one of the few movies that I think gets the animal slash biology side of Godzilla correct.
Mm-hmm.
In that it just must be horrifying to be Godzilla. And also on the flip side of that, as a human, must be just horrifying to know that Godzilla exists. So
Yeah.
it's a great one. I highly recommend it. It's the like I said, the Blu-ray just got released. I think it's like $10. So you can pick it up for not a whole lot of money, or if you have the Funimation streaming service, for some of our listeners who may be pretty big into anime, you may have that.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it on there if you're a subscriber to that as well.
Cool. Right on. Yeah, I am actually. So you told me about that. You said that your Blu-ray came with a digital download code or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I snagged that up, so I didn't have to purchase it myself. And as of right now, I am about 3/4 of the way through with it. I think I got about a half hour left, and I really like it so far. I'm glad you suggested it. I remember it coming out several years ago and seeing the trailer, and I was like, this looks kind of fucking cool. Like it's uh, another take, a Japanese take on Godzilla, and so I'm glad that I finally got a chance to give it a watch. So but my shit that doesn't suck is Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. For all you true crime and scary stuff nerds out there, you'll appreciate this. And by the time this episode comes out, a lot of you have probably already watched this. Pretty easy to binge. It's only it's a docu-series, but it's only 4 episodes, and it's mostly about Elisa Lamb's disappearing at the Cecil Hotel, or the Stay on Main, however you want to refer to it, because it is technically both. And we did cover her story a little bit in that informal paranormal episode several weeks back, but because of spoilers, I won't go into some of what this docu-series brings to the table, because it is brand new stuff that no one has seen or heard before, which more or less concludes the case, and wraps it up at a nice little bow. But I won't say exactly what for spoilers. I hope that in itself is you don't consider a spoiler. Ted, I don't know. What do you think? Did I just fuck that up? I don't think so.
Nah, go with it. Fuck it.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, I loved it. I thought it did a great job of focusing on not just her appearance or disappearance, but the history of the hotel itself, and just the crazy shit that went down there and still goes down there. Like, the infamous Skid Row is like, I don't remember how many square blocks, but it's a lot. There's like a billion homeless people that live around this hotel, and the hotel is like 1/4 hotel and 3/4 like low income housing. So these people that travel from like all over the world to stay at this hotel like end up rooming with like drug addicts. It is like the craziest shit I've ever seen, like in a hotel situation. Like people that have money that stay at this hotel, they'll end up riding an elevator with with like people that are going to shoot heroin in their hotel room. It's nuts, but I highly suggest it if you are familiar with her with Elisa Lamb's case. If you're not familiar with her case, yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. So there you go. That's it.
Okay, well, that's the show this week.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know what else to say.
That's yeah. It ended up being a little bit longer than our normal fare. I don't know how long it's going to be once we get this all edited and cut down, but ran a little bit longer. But that's okay. If you stuck with us, we appreciate it.
And also, you goofed.
Yes, and also we're sorry. But Yeah, we do appreciate you listening. Like always, leave us a rating and review where applicable. That's pretty much Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, I believe. 1 star or 5 stars. None of this middle of the road bullshit. You
That's right.
commit.
You commit, goddammit.
Yes, do it. Um, uh, what are our other call to actions? Patreon. If you are into the idea of giving two jabronis your hard-earned doll hairs, like $2 and $5 a month, we that allows us to continue to do the podcast a little bit easier, because doing a podcast, while fun, it's not without its expenses. So if you'd like to throw us even a one-time donation, that would be amazing. If not, no hard feelings. Either
Some
way,
hard feelings.
right, we will harbor a tiny bit of resentment, but we'll get over
I
it.
hope all the bad shit in life happens to you and no one else.
Well, that is something. Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, be kind, stay geeky, and eat lots of cheesecake. Bye!